joining us right now, the voice of the Toronto Raptors. We talked to Jim Paschke earlier from the Bucks, and it's kind of the same thing with Matt. Even though Toronto's had some success in the past, obviously, I can't root that much against them either. It's a fun story, and obviously one of the great calls in NBA history, that walk-off shot by Kawhi Leonard. It's a very busy day for Matt, so we're very honored he can join us this morning. Matt, it's Dave, Kyle, and Jay. Good morning. How are you?
Dave, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm sure you've been asked this 100 billion times. I'll get it right out of the way. What was that call like? I mean, honestly, what was it like, that Kawhi Leonard shot?
Well, with 4.2 seconds left, obviously time and score, and you're just trying to not mess it up. And it was truly amazing. It really was. I have had the, privilege to call a lot of games and a lot of big games, but that was the most amazing shot and the most amazing outcome. And the way it was suspended in air, the basketball bouncing around 4 times before it went through, it just added to the drama. And what a special moment, certainly for the Toronto Raptors.
Matt, and I would say this, I would never want to play poker across from Masai Ujiri, who last year, it's not like Toronto had a bad year. And the coach of the year goes, DeMar DeRozan goes. You bring in Kawhi Leonard, whose ending in San Antonio was obviously questionable for many reasons, including a fairly serious injury. And look at this team now. Conference finals, 8 wins away from a title. In the end, no disrespect at all to DeMar or to Coach Casey, but it looks like Masai knows a little bit about what he's doing.
Well, no question. And I think that when you go back, to your point, no disrespect to DeMar DeRozan, he's a 4-time All-Star. How do you acquire a top 5 player in the NBA? Well, it's under the circumstances where, he wants to leave San Antonio, has a year left on his deal. You have to give up an all-star to get a franchise player. That's all understood. And, the fact of the matter is, when you look at it, Masai Ujiri felt in order for this organization to take the next step in the postseason, it had nothing to do with the regular season. The postseason, he needed to make some changes. And along with that, addition of Kawhi Leonard came Danny Green, which was a phenomenal addition. And then also the coaching change with Nick Nurse, who, had spent 5 years as an assistant with the Toronto Raptors, had spent, years in Europe as well as throughout the United States coaching at the G League level, pro basketball in Europe, had really honed his skills. He's from a small town, Carroll, Iowa, less than 10,000 people. Wonderful communicator, and ultimately, it was the right decision, as difficult as it was, to let go Dwayne Casey, who, obviously did a great job this year in Detroit. But at the end of the day, the Raptors are, as you mentioned, 4 wins away from getting to their first ever NBA Finals and 8 wins away, from their first ever NBA title.
Matt, we were talking a little bit about this earlier this week and the importance of NBA coaches. What has Nick Nurse done differently in your mind than Dwayne Casey was doing that's kind of helped the Raptors take a step forward, if anything? Or was it just the acquisition of a player like Kawhi Leonard that's helped them take that step up?
Well, I think there's been a combination of things, and I don't necessarily know if it's Nick versus Dwayne, but it's, philosophical. Nick, was the, quote-unquote offensive coordinator under Dwayne, but he really has his roots in defense. The defense has been top-notch. It's been one of the best defenses, the best in the postseason, the top 5 during the regular season. So there's been a defensive approach. There's certainly been a 3-point shooting approach. And then also his willingness to include his veteran players on, just a lot of different fronts, the communication and all those sort of things that he, was, willing to, sit down and, talk to Kawhi about, hey, what sort of looks do you like? Okay, we can run these sort of plays for you. And that's not uncommon. I mean, those are the things that all coaches do. But, ultimately there was just a sense that, the time was right for a new voice, and it certainly has worked out.
Matt, you spoke about veterans on the team. One guy that the Raptors acquired at the trade deadline was Marc Gasol. Obviously, Marc doesn't stuff the stat sheet anymore like he used to, but talk about some of the positive contributions he's made to this Raptors team.
Well, when he came in on February the 9th, the Raptors were 23rd in the league in three-point shooting percentage. And from February the 9th until the end of the regular season, they climbed all the way to 6th overall. They were number 1 from February 9th. To the middle of April. And the reason why was the ball movement. It's the hockey assist that Marc Gasol provides. He's unselfish, and while he's not shooting a ton of three-pointers, his ability to space the floor and play more 5-out, which Milwaukee plays as well, I think really benefited the Raptors. Now in the postseason, they've struggled, shooting the three, but that's something that they're hoping they can find here once again. They've had a lot of open looks throughout the course of the postseason, but as we know, shots are a little bit tougher to find in the playoffs than they are during the regular season. And he's also added just a presence. He's a former Defensive Player of the Year. He's a great communicator. It's interesting to note that on Sunday, Serge Ibaka and Marc played a lot together here in the postseason against Philadelphia. They did not, just 31 minutes together in the regular season, but they're teammates with the Spanish national team, and they were, communicating their coverages in Spanish on, Sunday night in Game 7 so that nobody understood what angle they were doubling from. So there's just a great, camaraderie amongst this team.
And, you mentioned just real quick about Serge Ibaka, but I don't think a lot of people know this. Correct me if I'm wrong. He can speak Spanish to Marc Gasol, turn around and speak French, English. I want to say there might be a fourth language, but this isn't the first time that he's communicated multilingually, if that's even a word, with his teammates. That's pretty cool.
It is. Well, Pascal Siakam speaks, English and French, and Serge Ibaka speaks French, and so they wanted to stay away from speaking French because they knew that Joel Embiid spoke it, so that's why Ibaka and Gasol were speaking Spanish to one another.
That's pretty amazing. And honestly, last question, Matt. You can make an argument, I think a really, really good argument, that with Kevin Durant injured, with Nikola Jokic eliminated, you have the two best teams in the postseason, or two best players, in the postseason, about to go head-to-head. Do you see much of Giannis and Kawhi checking each other during this series? Will there be much head-to-head between the two of these guys?
I don't know that there will be. When you look at all the numbers, Chris Middleton has been the primary defender on Kawhi, and Pascal Siakam has been the primary defender on Giannis, but certainly there will be moments that they will match up against one another. Kawhi, when you think about players remaining in the Eastern Conference, he's the most accomplished with respect to, having won an NBA Finals and the Finals MVP. But Giannis is a tremendous young player, and when you look to the West, as we know, you have Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson, and ultimately, will Kevin Durant come back? When will he be ready? It's certainly intriguing at this time of the year.
That is Matt Devlin, the voice of the Toronto Raptors. Big series, obviously, tonight, 5:30 p.m. start. That's 7:30 over there in Milwaukee, where everyone's at, and I believe 8:30 for everybody, all the kids trying to stay up in Toronto. Matt, I know you're busy. I appreciate you being on our little Sacramento station, and good luck in these conference finals.
You got it. Anytime.
All right, take care. That's Matt Devlin.
You're listening to The Drive.